It is 3:02, and we will call to order this monthly meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the Housing Authority of the City of San Buenaventura. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Keller,
Here.
Commissioner Schulting,
Here.
Commissioner Simonson,
Here.
Commissioner Sprague. is
Here.
Oh, she's here. Not yet. She's not here.
Not yet.
Vice Chair White.
Yes.
Chair Pulaski.
I am here. Okay, thank you very much. We will now vote to see if we're willing to allow Commissioner Spranga to come into the meeting.
Correct.
Yes, it would either be for emergency or good cause. And Commissioner
Good.
Sprague,
A good cause, a medical reason.
no further explanation is necessary.
Okay, we do not need to get into it. Okay, so I will entertain a motion to allow Diana Spranga, Commissioner Spranga, to participate in this meeting remotely.
I move that we allow Commissioner Sprague to participate in the meeting remotely.
Okay, Barbara is the maker of the motion. I heard Carol before I heard you, Jim. So Carol is the second. We do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by raising your hand, saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes unanimously. Welcome, Commissioner Spranga, to our meeting.
Thank you very much.
You may now fully participate.
Thank you.
We move on to 1.03. This is adopting the agenda. Staff, any changes recommended to the agenda?
No changes. Just note we added a special meeting at the end of the meeting. So,
Yes, thank you. I will entertain motion.
I move that we adopt the agenda as is.
Second.
Okay, Barbara is the maker of the motion and Jim is the second. We do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by raising your hand, saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. Any opposed? Any abstentions? It passes unanimously. We move on to 1.04. This is our Housing Choice Voucher Housing Provider presentation, one of our monthly series of hearing from our partners.
Sure, I'm happy to introduce Jane Hager with California Oaks Property Management. She's in the room. I might ask Diane to make a few comments as well, since Diane knows her well as well. But we've tried to bring to you every month different perspectives of folks that we work with in this business of providing housing. We had a tenant one time, we had a social service provider, a community service provider, and we thought having a housing provider, not a landlord, but a housing provider would be a good addition to that series. So with that, I'll turn it over to Diane to make a few extra comments for Jane.
Yes. Thank you, Jeff.
Sure.
I personally want to thank Jane, California Oaks, Jane Hager, Lorraine, thank you for coming as well. She's one of her senior property managers. So thank you for joining us today. They have participated in our Section 8 program for over 30 years.
Wow,
Yeah, it's a long
thank
time.
you.
Yes, yes. And I want to thank and acknowledge also the previous owner, David Hilty. He no longer owns it, but Jane Hager is now the new owner. So thank you for your continued participation in our program. We've had good times and we've had bad times, but we always get through them. So the fact that you continue to participate with our program, I know my team and I appreciate it. And we're thankful for that. So thank you to Doreen, the other staff that works there. And we look forward for your continued participation. And basically, we are thankful for the housing that you have provided for our program participants because they have a place that they should call in. And we thank you. We thank you both for being here today and representing California Oaks. Thank you.
And Jane, we'd love you just to say a few words, stand up and tell us how great we are to work with.
Well, first of all, excuse me, so Diane started with me in 93 until 2002. And then she came here, I lost her. And then she referred Doreen, her sister-in-law, to me, who has her 20-year anniversary this week.
Wow.
So I do apologize because sometimes I call her Diane. And she just answers, it's just like that. So, but thank you for having me.
Thank
you. Thank you.
Any comments from the commissioners?
Yeah, it's really, thank you so much. I mean, it's really because of property managers, owners, such as yourself, where our housing choice voucher participants actually when they're shopping with their vouchers, no units available, no choice. And so we really appreciate it. And to have that 3-decade participation, we really appreciate it. And I'm sure hundreds of residents that you've helped find housing really appreciate it too. So thank you very much. Anyone, any other? Yeah.
Just a tidbit of information, I'm in California, since 1978, and I bought my first house. So thank you for housing me back then.
Well, we've been around since 72, so.
I have it.
Okay. Anybody else? Any commissioner? Okay, thank you very much. Again, sorry, I really appreciate it.
You're welcome to stay.
No, okay. Okay, we move on to item number 2. This is the consent agenda items. As most people know, we will consider the consent agenda in its entirety unless a commissioner would like to pull a particular item for separate discussion and or vote. As is our custom, we'll start with our esteemed CEO. Anything he'd like to add to his report?
Thank you. I'd like to have a couple folks join my update from my report today. In light of last meeting where our Commissioner White actually pulled a couple items from consent, and we appreciate that. Because it gives us a chance to talk about things that we don't always talk about publicly. But a couple of those items you pulled last time, we thought we'd give a proactive report as part of my report today. I think I'll start with the performance highlights and I have Alejandra give an update on how our performance has been from our housing program.
So as far as performance, what about
Yep.
changes and updates?
Yep.
Okay, so we've so the recent changes, we've added new members, and as far as performance, we're working on, we do have, I don't know if you saw the report, but we are collecting our outstanding balances for rent. We are currently leasing for Westview 2, and then preparing for audits. We've been very busy with audits. Yes.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure we make a verbal presentation on some of these things that I know are important to the board. So thank you, Alejandra, very much. And then I know you also asked about our city programs and our capital funds. And so Nellie's been working on our city programs for some time, and she's prepared a couple slides to kind of walk you through our city programs. We're so in the middle of doing them, we kind of forget to talk about them sometimes. And I think I'll mention, in case Nellie doesn't mention, that this summer will be the 50th anniversary of the CDBG program, which is a pretty big deal. And we've been a long time recipient of that program from the city. And Nellie is the one in charge of moving those projects forward. So I'll turn it over to Nellie.
Good afternoon. I'll make this quick. I know you guys are pretty busy. You're important too. So city programs, let me tell you a little bit about both programs. I'm going to start with city programs. The Housing Authority has 3 contracts with the city of Ventura to provide administration, management, implementation, and servicing of their overall city programs, affordable city programs. The contracts consist of affordable housing program, housing conservation program, and the mobile home rehabilitation program. There are over 850 income restricted units and include various tax to aid for the increase, improvement, and preservation of affordable housing. Oh, let me go back. I just put some pictures in, and I just wanted to show that this is one of the for sale products from 2017. There were 12 low-income affordable units, and I thought this was a really nice project, so I thought I'd show this picture. So, the Affordable Housing Program, or AHP, it has 2 sections or 2 parts to it. One is ownership and one is rental. This portion is the ownership. Currently, there's 14 developments with over 500 ownership units restricted to low and moderate income households. Owner occupancy certifications requests are sent to owners annually to determine compliance. Annual certifications returned on average are 85 to 90% response. We also do 10 to 15 ownership sale or resale. The reason why I say sale and resale, because the sale is new products coming in. And are processed from application to close of escrow annually for income eligible buyers. In some ownership cases, a city down payment assistance was given, which may or have required the processing or review to allow refinance, subordinations, payouts, and other sorts of servicing requests. And that would include owners and lenders as well. I don't have any of this little. How do I do that? Currently, there is one ownership development under construction. It's a 14 townhome for sale product for eligible moderate income households. It's supposed to go on lottery or drawing in September. And this picture is, or image is of that project or development. It's Seaview at Midtown. And it's over between, I don't know the streets.
Channel Drive.
Channel Drive,
Yeah.
thank you. The rental side of it, there are 17 rental developments being monitored with over 350 units on an annual basis to determine compliance pursuant to the city's agreements. And of course, we have to get that information from landlords, property managers, and management companies. I work with the city and developer on new developments with inclusion and requirements that are ready for construction and ready to begin the marketing lottery process for both ownership and rental projects, including review and approval process for prospective buyers and tenants as required by the city. There are also various administration tasks that include but not limited to updating income limits, populations for ownership and rental limits, updating tables, charts, things like that on the website. So there's always something going on with these programs. Currently, there's one rental development under construction, and it's gonna have 19 very low and low, or it's comprised of 19 very low and low income units. And the lottery is to be determined. They're in the middle of doing the marketing for this one. This image is for the Willows, which is that project. It's a really nice project. Housing Preservation Program is a program that it's been around for a while. However, the city used to provide funding to assist homeowners to improve their properties by rehabilitating, their roofs, windows, things like that. However, the city does not have funding source at this time, or hasn't had for a while. So the only thing we do for them on this program is service their loans. The mobile home program, or mobile home rehabilitation grant program, has been around for a while as well. And I can't say when I started, it was already here, so at least maybe 20 years.
Yeah.
Off and on. I think they took it and brought it back in. The goal is to assist at least 15 mobile homeowners on an annual basis to improve their living conditions and support the preservation and affordable housing and allow seniors and disabled to age in place. To date, the program has assisted approximately 400 low-income households. Currently,
I just want to highlight that. That's a pretty big number.
That is.
That are able to stay in their homes because of a little bit of money that we help the city implement to make those homes livable.
Yeah.
Currently, there are 15 applicants being processed for this last fiscal year, 23-24. And interested homeowners are placed on a wait list until we reach their name, basically. Owners may be eligible to repair, replace various work items and various types of work needed. These improvements increase the energy efficiency, reduce utility costs, provide a safe and healthier environment, accessibility, and expands the life of the mobile home. There are various steps for the processing an applicant, such as initial contact to determine if still interested in application, inspection, bid process, approval, document draw, contract signing, construction payment draws, and completion process. About capital funds, this is a lot shorter. Capital fund program is a funding source for physical and management improvements for public housing properties. The funding is based on formula allocation that considers the size and age of the housing authority stock. And as you know, the stock has gone down quite a bit. We're down to 240, 220? 200 what? 17. Okay. So the less we have, the less we receive. The contract is operated under an annual contribution contract, and last year's award was over 800,000. And presently, I'm working on 8 projects. Seaport improvements. So these are the current projects that we're working on. Daisy Apartments, that one's about 99% complete. It shows there was 20 units. Cost was about 500,000 plus. Vista del Monte, replacement of water lines, that's still out to bid. That is due next week. Approximate 180, but I have a feeling it's going to be more than that. Then we also have 4 properties, Kellogg, Harrison, Park Row, and Birch. Roof replacements, total of 11 units combined. Also out to bid, due next week. Add 200,000, but I have a feeling it's also going to be over that. And Joan Street exterior stairs, we're just waiting for a couple of, actually one estimate. Maintenance is helping on this. They're actually pulling the bids, the estimates on these. And the estimated cost is 30,000. And Sterling Apartments asphalt replacement, from what I understand, you know, it's in really bad shape. So we need to move on this one pretty quickly. So that's estimated at 30,000 as well. These are future projects. I put it by category and number because I do have a spreadsheet that shows each one and what they are, the approximate costs might be. But it kind of gives you an idea that there's a lot of properties that need various improvements within the same properties itself. Thank you. I hope it makes some sense to everybody. Yeah, thank you.
It does. How many, thank you very much. How many of the traditional public housing units do we still have?
It's like 217, 214, is that? 217.
217, okay.
Yeah.
And just so there's no misunderstanding for folks joining in, while the traditional public housing units have decreased, it's because we repositioned through a program called the Rental Assistance Demonstration Project. We actually own more units than we ever have, own and manage. But in that traditional public housing sense, they've been taken out of public housing, redeveloped, rehabbed. Sometimes in cases like Westview, demolished and reconstructed. So I just didn't want people to think that we're slowly decreasing the total number of our units to house folks. We're actually increasing them. Just as we did here at Westview. How many additional units did we add here than we had before?
From 180 to 320.
Yeah.
3. And so I just didn't want that get out there, you know, housing authorities losing units.
No, we're not. We're gaining.
Sorry.
Thank you. No.
Now, just really quickly, you have 85 to 90% respond to those annual certification. What happens to the 10 to 15% that just say, okay, we don't need to respond?
So from that remaining, there's about, we take 10% of that and do an actual physical inspection. And typically, out of those, we probably get 50 to 80% back. And the 2 that we don't, we send out letters. So to make sure that they comply with the restrictions of living in their units. And typically, in some of the older units or some of the older tracts, it's really hard to get that going. And, you know, we have to send the information to the city, and sometimes it No offense, I know you worked for the city before, but. Response from the city attorney's office, so.
Yeah,
Just didn't want to get into that part, but.
Let's not go there.
But anyhow, that's where it stands.
Thanks, Doug.
All right.
Thank you very much.
I have a couple other things I wanted to update you
Please.
as part of the update. We tried to be a little more visual this time, so I have a couple of graphics, so I'll have, let's just pull up the one. So first, corporate games. I'm really excited that we had such staff enthusiasm. We joined the corporate games. And those of you that don't know, it's an opportunity for companies to compete against each other in Ventura County. The city does the program. I guess we did it years ago, but not in a big way. This year, we did it in a big way. I'm glad they didn't include the picture of me and my kickboxing exercise. I didn't do a very good job. Kickball, sorry. But we had a lot of enthusiasm. I think we have soccer left this weekend. But I will say, yes.
Where's Kimball Park?
Where's Kim? Oh, Central Park,
Community,
Park.
there's no Kimball.
Oh, it says Community Park. We'll fix that.
We will fix it.
Thank you. But it's actually just really cool that staff have been able, this is all on staff personal time, evenings, weekends. That the competition is in the evenings, weekends, and practice if they have a chance to practice. But it's been a great team building exercise. And I know people are already enthusiastic about doing it next year. Next slide, let's go. So we also had a teen resource fair here. I guess this is the Kate show because she's in several of these pictures, but we had just over here at Westview 3, we had a teen resource fair just a couple weeks ago, and it was really great. We had a lot of our partners there to just talk about what resources they have for teens. It was games. It was a really fun evening there, and there was also an ice cream truck, which is added incentive for people to get there. So the kind of stuff we're doing around the property, I wanted to share. Next slide. There's another cake picture.
Yes.
This is really.
Good one.
That's a good one.
That's a great
good one.
picture. So as you know, we reported that we did a tour with Congressman Carvajal a month or so ago of Westview 2.
Yeah.
You see Karen and Sandy in the background. I'm sure there was heavy lobbying going on right here in the driveway, but it was a great opportunity. And as you know, we did get $1 million from our congressman, our senator, to help support this project. That was particularly for the community, the childcare facility on campus. And we'll report on the status of this project when Karen does a report in a minute. And next. So Boys and Girls Club, we were happy to go to Boys and Girls Club. They have their annual sort of Youth of the Year event. I have the program from there, but 3 of our kids were awarded because they do it by a Boys and Girls Club location. So for the elementary school, it was Kia Summers, 8 years old. Is it Kaya? Thank you. I appreciate that. For the junior high, it was Sebastian Cardenas, who didn't really able to give a speech that night, but
He's shy.
he's
Shy, and
great.
he spoke ahead of time with Patty, so it was okay.
He's great. And then high school, it was Charlotte Summers, 17, who did a great speech and kind of won the overall award of the evening. So she was fantastic. So our kids really did a great show there, and we were well represented on the Housing Authority team and the board. And then next, if we can, we're gonna play the video.
That's right.
So if you didn't see, we were highlighted in KYET's news coverage for for our Idea Center over at El Portal. And so they actually, it was a show was last Thursday. And so I'd like to play that for you if you haven't seen it. While he's doing that, I'll cover a couple other things.
Somebody actually sent me the link while I was in DC.
Oh, yeah.
We were in DC to make sure I didn't miss it.
It was great.
Great.
Oh, there you go. Enjoy.
It's probably something that they themselves.
You have to sit through the commercial first, I apologize.
I will lower it. We don't give massages there.
No. It's not part of our services, no. But it's actually a nice piece, so. Right.
Yes.
I want to note too, Christopher, who's doing our annual report, part of that, we wanted to do a story on the Idea Center, and he was so blown away by the Idea Center when he went to see it. He called the reporter and created the story. This is a new reporter for KYT who actually lives on the west side of Ventura. So she really wants to do more stories here locally, and we told her we're happy to give her lots of deal flow, of new stories to tell. Just a couple other quick ones. I know this has been a longer presentation than usual. Making very good progress on Valentine Road hiring. We talked about, there are two key positions, the senior property position and the senior case manager. We have an accepted offer for the senior property manager, senior property operations manager. And this person will start probably in about a month. So we're very excited about that. He comes with lots of 20 years of experience. He's going to hit the ground running. We're really thrilled about that. We have second interviews on Tuesday for the case manager position, the senior position there. We have 3 great candidates from the first panel, and I'll be interviewing the second. And I'm actually interviewing them with the property management person even before they start, so they can get that relationship is so critical. So we're really thrilled about that. Continue to have really good conversations with behavioral health. I'm more encouraged now than I was 6 months ago about their partnership with us. So I know that's something Jim cares a lot about. And I feel really good about their partnership, and I think they're really going to be a key component. And then lastly, I mentioned in my report, Food Sharing does this analysis of the amount of they call it the agency impact report. And that just for Willett Ranch alone, they provided 5,577 pounds of food with a retail value of $23,000 in 2023, just at Willett Ranch. So the impact of the kind of partnerships that we have with our community partners really makes a difference. That concludes my report today.
That's incredible. Hey, going back to the issue that you said you had with the corporate games, it may have been, you thought you were doing kickboxing and it was kickball.
That might be exactly the problem. Yeah. I wasn't, it wasn't my best moment, I think.
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioners, anything on any of the items? Again, we really thank staff for doing the narratives that make it really easy for us to understand what we're looking at with the consent agenda items. Jim?
Thank you for pulling up that information from the meeting last month. I appreciate that.
Sure.
I do have a couple of other items that I
Please.
pulled, 206, 202, and 208. 202, we just talked about, and the CEO report. I really appreciate the community services that we're getting out and talking to people and showing them what we have here. So many people out there don't know what we have here. And just looking at the names that you brought in and had tours with them, I think it's great. Because all those people that you had tours with will make a difference in our community and our continuing support, especially financial.
Yep, appreciate that.
06, who's 06? I got
Community services.
And receive the Community Services Department report.
Oh, community services. All right. Oh, there you are. Again, partnering. It's, you know, with the Job Center, Boys and Girls Club, the Teen Resource Fair that had pizza and ice cream. I'm not sure how healthy it is, but you had another report about how healthy we're looking into, which is really good, the vegetables and stuff. So I appreciate
What we do is we give pizza and ice cream and then we do a nutrition also.
Oh.
Don't do that again.
Well, that makes all the sense in the world. Okay, and then, so thank you for all the work that you do out in the community too. 208 is
Human resources.
human resources. A lot of challenges and opportunities.
There she is.
Oh, there you are.
Over there.
Workforce violence prevention program required by July 1st.
Yes,
We're gonna be able to make that July 1st.
yes.
Because that's really, really important
Yes.
for our Valentine Road project. So I appreciate you working with that, and that's all I have.
Carol, I thought I saw your hand.
Yeah, just maybe a brief question, if somebody could say a few words about how people in the community might be, getting the information, say if they live in a mobile home that's old and.
For the repair.
Yeah. The point of contact, how.
Ellie is the point of contact.
How do people find out about the mobile home rehab program?
They can contact me, it's on our website as well. They
And
can-
you do advertising, you do notices.
I'm sorry?
You do notices about.
Well, it's really word of mouth because we have a list of over a year. Typically. We had a list of over 5 years, so it's come down after the years I've been working on it. I hate to say, a lot of people end up moving, or a lot of elderly, so either they pass away or they move into a home. So, the list has gone down to at least a year and a half. But, so I don't do advertising because then it would raise the list again, and they'd wait on this list and get exasperated because their name doesn't come up. So typically when we work on the different mobile home parks, it's word of mouth that gets out. So unless if you guys really want information about it, you could always find the information on our website under city programs. So if you go at the top link, it says housing, you'll see city programs, and you will see the mobile home under related pages.
So you're not exactly hiding it,
I'm
you're
not
just
hiding
not really advertising it.
Right.
No, and
Yeah.
probably the same reason, because I think when it was at a 5-year wait list, a lot of people were getting exasperated because we weren't getting to them.
Yeah.
That's when I first started with you, so it was a little, I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Commissioners, if there are no more, I'm sorry, Kate.
I just
Yes.
wanted to say, Jeff, that was a beautiful presentation.
Oh.
It's been such a busy year in the community.
Yeah.
So thank you for recognizing all the things that we're doing out there.
Absolutely. Good stuff.
And, no further questions. I will entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
I'll motion to approve the consent agenda and its entirety.
I second.
Okay, thank you. Kate is the maker of the motion. Barbara is the second. We do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please indicate by raising your hand saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Diana, did you vote on that? Oh, she's frozen.
No.
Yeah.
Diana.
Okay, but it passed unanimously.
Okay.
And so we move on to item number 3, public communications. This is the opportunity for any member of the public to speak to the commission. It may be an agendized or non-agendized item, but it must be within the purview of the commission. I do have some speaker slips. As I think most everybody knows, we have a 3-minute time limit. Tiernan over here will be our timekeeper. I'll start with the speaker slips I have. Then I'll go to people who didn't fill out the speaker slip that are here in the office. And then we'll go to people remotely on the phone. Okay, so we will start public comment with Eileen Newsom.
Good afternoon, commissioners.
Good afternoon.
My name is Eileen.
Speak up.
My name is Eileen Newsom and I live at 137 Palm Street in beautiful downtown Ventura. And I would just like to briefly touch on the issue of we as residents at the Palms losing our property manager, Grace
Oh, yeah.
Navarro. So with Grace, she improved our quality of life just because of her open door policy. And while that, it was, you know, it's drawn us together. And what was really wonderful about Grace is she was able to balance the personal and the professional. So, you know, we all felt included. So my comments are brief, but I would like to say again, this was the first time in the 10 years that I've lived at the Palms where we truly felt like a community. And finally, at the risk of sounding like a trope for old song, we residents do remain bereft and bewildered, especially because of the dearth of communication about this. And we fervently hope that this issue could be resolved positively. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. And as I think everybody knows, when it, public communications is anything within our purview, which this certainly is. However, if it's not on the agenda, we cannot respond. There's no way in which we can respond, but of course, staff is hearing everything. So just to make sure people understand why we are not responding. Okay. We now move to Danny Solomon.
Hello, my name is Danny Solomon. I live at 66 South Ventura Avenue. And when I first moved in, I lived on Palm Street and there was a different manager. And when I went in there, there was a sense of isolation and cliques, and there was no spirit, there was no joy in this building. And then a month later, Grace Navarro came in. And she lifted everybody up. She brought an acceptance of everybody. She brought a professionalism and a heart that told all of us residents that you're heard, you're seen, I'm thinking about what's best for you. It was so different than any manager I'd ever seen before. She really cared in a time right now when things are struggling and people are struggling to get along, and fighting and trying to find fault. She really was about bringing people together. She was about creating an attitude and an environment where we honored each other. We honored those that were doing well and we honored those that were passing away. We were allowed to grieve and honor our abilities to be who we were. This was just an exceptional sense of what kind of leader Grace was. This was something special, I thought, for 25 years. I'm a counselor. I have a really good sense of who brings up the community and the environment. And she was just the essence of a great leader. She made you believe that you weren't just an object or a piece of furniture in the building, but this open door policy she had and this respect that she had for everybody there made you feel like you could make a difference, that you were important. And in a time and a place when we often don't have much control over things, we might have the control to do something right, to put somebody in a good position to do the right thing. I know that means my time is up.
It does.
I very much appreciate you listening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate. Okay, the next speaker is it Shelby McMahon, I believe.
Shelley.
Shelby, oh, sorry,
No,
sorry,
no.
this is my writing too.
I'm Shelley McMahon. I live at 137 South Palm Street. And thank you, Eileen and Danny, for speaking so kindly of our grace. All I want to say is that I thank Coalition of Ventura County for saving my life years ago. I was tortured out at sea for over a week and was going to be left for dead had, people not intervened and helped. And a counselor there got me on a list, the Housing Authority. And I tried to afford it for a long time. And thank you all for giving me my apartment at Christmas to December 2000. Anyway, I thank you all so very much. And I love my apartment. But like Danny said, when I got there, just a minute before Danny did, I was told by a caretaker who had left our building. Her client died shortly after she left, and she said, "You will not be in that building, Mom. You will wait your year and you will move to where you can go next in housing." She goes, basically, that's where they send the misfits. And well, guess what? I am one. I am very special. And thanks to Grace Navarro, when she got there, she not only saw my special needs, as Danny spoke of, we are a family of misfits, but she helped us become a family. And we became a community, and we all loved her. And with her, I felt like I had a little wing feather in my wings every day, so I could keep on going. And just thank you very much for listening. And I pray that you all help her come back, because it's Mental Health and Awareness Month. And if you really are partnering with Ventura County, we need Grace back at the farms and the mission and to live in Crescent. So that's.
Thank you very much. And sorry for calling you Shelby instead of.
You can call me
I'm sorry. I apologize. It's not gonna be the only time probably today.
1 second, John. If you've got a cell phone on you, please mute it. Do not let your cell phone interrupt the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Jennifer Willis.
Hi, I am also a resident at the Palms Department. And I had the experience, as well as Dan, the negative experience of the prior manager, who was so cold and so difficult to communicate even basic things. The door was always shut. and the phone calls were not returned. It has been our opposite experience with Grace. And she manages to maintain a level of decorum and also generate warmth and compassion. Okay, this woman is an incredibly kind woman. And we have had issues. We have safety issues. I don't feel safe in my building. We have somebody that's dealing fentanyl and heroin. And there are constantly homeless people being, which I am not, I have tremendous heart for homeless people. I just, when they're being brought into the building or trying to sleep in the washroom, Grace was always vigilant about responding to that and keeping the building as safe as she could. At this moment, we all know no one is watching our cameras, okay? Things of our tables have gotten taken from different floors, and also someone in the building, it's nonsensically spreading a malicious rumor about Grace. So what else? She was fantastic about getting work orders completed. Okay, she was extremely prompt and helpful about that. Sometimes there would be confusion when people calling in their work order, and she would correct them and she would get it done. I just need to reiterate that it felt like I was living kind of in a mental health hospital or something when I moved in there. And she made it so there was life in the building. And she generated community. It was so incredibly necessary at this time when we are people are in a place of fear and isolation, and we as disabled people desperately need that connection. Trying to remember what else I accidentally left everything in the call. Thank you very much for your time. Grace is an exceptional manager. I had her discrepancies with her. No one is perfect. She is a fit for us. Oh, and we're also very upset about the lack of visibility and accountability about the circumstance, and it has traumatized all of us. So in the future, we would like it handled more appropriate with support. If there is, thank you
very much.
Sorry for my name.
The next speaker is Frank Suzette.
Susan, yeah.
Suzette.
Well, I'm not used to, I don't know how to follow these people. They've given such a great presentation and right from the heart. And I'm an old man who's not used to talking in public. I've never done it. Where can I start? I think the main thing I'd start with is the fact that that everything has been improving now for so many years. It's just really remarkable. I know your description of the Palms is a lot of problems, but you won't believe what it used to be 20 years ago. The town itself has changed, and more money is coming in. People want, like, trimming the trees is tremendous. They're trying to make this everything better. They're dressing better. They're trying to have good sidewalks. They're trying pruning the trees. They have the ambassadors. And we're all individuals in these buildings who have come from circumstances with a lot of problems. In my case, one of the problems I had was that with the previous manager, I had had a concussion. And 10 days later, when they did a heat treatment in the building, they wouldn't listen to me, telling them that I couldn't do it. And so I passed out and had another concussion 10 days later in the same place. And so I'm now I'm nervous now, so don't judge me too much.
Not at all.
This isn't me. But I can't remember the numbers. I used to be able to do every arithmetic and all that. I wouldn't write it down. I would just do it. It was simple. I can't do that anymore. And I went through a month or so where I couldn't remember where I lived. And I couldn't remember my phone number. And address. The buildings have improved a lot too. The renovation is tremendous. But people with so many problems and so different ages, different religions, different everything, that it's hard to find yourself because you're constantly misunderstood because you're talking to someone from totally different vantage point. But when Grace came in, she maintained a I didn't think it would work. We had so many problems. When Grace came in, the way she dresses, she's cheerful. She always has a smile. She listens to you. She's patient. It would be a real loss to lose her. I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional. It's fine. Sorry, I couldn't do better.
Frank, it was
Very
perfect.
difficult when you're not used to speaking to the public.
And we even hit on the head.
Those are all the speaker slips I have. Is there anybody else who cares to make public comment who did not fill out a speaker slip here? And then we will go to the folks that are calling in.
One more resident, please.
Okay.
My name is Heidi. I'm deaf. And I don't know what to say. She's up here, she's a really good person and caring. And she's like a teacher or so. That reminds me of. But I want her back. That's all. But I feel comfortable with her. But she's really willing and she's always on time and she'd do anything. She's a good person. So I would like her back. That's all.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am. Please let us know who you are real quickly.
I'm Chris, and I live at 137 Palm Street, and Barbara Keller and I moved in to the apartments about the same time, about 11 years ago. And we have gone through a lot through the rad conversion and all that stuff. We have probably shared that. And we're on the I'm on the vice for council. I was ever since I've been there. I've been in some capacity, started with being sergeant at arms. But I've seen a lot going on. You know, working with community service is wonderful. They're wonderful people, and you all beautiful and we missed the names, but we loved them. Anyway, so I just want to say that, yes, Grace, when she came in, she is a spitfire. She is very nice, kind person, everyone I know. And we were just blessed to have her there. And she would join in with everything, anything she wanted to do, she was with for it. And she just is on your side, on our side. And we felt like we were a team. We're a good team. So, yeah, that's all I want to say. She was really a great manager.
Thank you very much. Before we go to the phone, is there anybody else who has not spoken who cares to speak? Yes, please.
My name is Gabby. I don't live in the Palms. I'm a caregiver there. I worked there since 2014. We had the previous manager, same as everybody, door closed policy. Nobody has no one to talk to. This Grace, she opens the doors for them and they don't treat them as residents. She treats them as family and not just them, even their pets. Because we do have nine, and we do have emotional support dogs, and she treats them as family as well. No different from anybody. She doesn't pick and choose. Everybody's equal for her. And she has done so many events. People interact with each other. People come out, people that I haven't seen in years, they do come out because she was there. Because she got to talk to them, because she brought them as family. And that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Anybody else before we go to the phone? Anyone else here who has not spoken who cares to speak? I do not see anybody. Francisco, anyone on the phone who cares to speak? Or Kristen?
So for those that are on the Zoom, if you're on the Zoom application, you can raise your hand if you wish to speak. If you're just on the call for Zoom, I believe you can press *9 and that'll raise your hand. So at this time, if there's anybody on Zoom that wishes to speak, please go ahead and raise your hand. Okay.
Will you see a raised hand? Is that you?
Anybody?
Yeah. I don't see anybody, no one through email. No one through the other email. Kristen, anybody on your end?
No, big man.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you everyone for coming out. As you know, these meetings are monthly. They're always open to the public. And our residents are always invited.
Oh, I believe we might have.
Oh, okay. I was about to close it, but
So I have somebody that's on the Galaxy Tab E. I will go ahead and unmute you. You can also press *6 if you're on the phone. Oh, there we go.
okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. And you have 3 minutes, please.
Okay, thank you. I'm a resident at Vista Del Mar Commons on Palm Street. My name is Vera Williams, and I would just like to also add with the rest of the residents how much that we appreciate and adore our beloved manager, Grace Navarro. Everyone is devastated because there has been no explanation to why she is being terminated. And so we are just coming together to voice how much we would like to keep her and what a difference she made here in the building. And it basically that's it. I just wanted to share my feelings. And Grace just really went out of her way. She would extend herself over and beyond the call of duty to have gatherings for the residents and for anything she could do to address our needs. And we just really love her. We miss her. And it's just not the same without her. And we are hoping just to get some answers and explanations to why this is happening. And we thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
And I'd just like to thank all of you who came here today and spoke. We hear you. That's really all I have to say. So thank you very much for being.
Francisco, anyone else on the?
I do not see anyone else. And
You know, sometimes we have public officials that join in. Is there anybody that was on there?
Jim was unable to get it.
today I don't see it.
Wisdom. Okay, thank you again, everyone, for coming. Again, these are always open to the public and certainly to our residents as well. We will close public communications. We will move on to item number 4. This is the formal action items. 4.01, receiving the development status report.
May we excuse
Yes,
ourselves?
of course, yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, yes,
You're
yes, I
welcome
mean,
to
you're
stay.
welcome to stay. It's an exciting meeting from here, you know, people pay tickets. This is where, you know, thank you. Thank you.
Exciting to
Thank
meet
you. And treat her, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Please, thank you. I can't read my-
Yeah.
You wanna do stroke it also, or?
Yeah. Take care. Barbara let us know how blessed it is like there. Oh, we like breakfast. They're all my neighbors.
Okay, we will move on to item 4.01, receiving the development status report. Karen.
Okay, I get to see this on the screen because honestly, I can't read the little print on my paper copy anymore. So these are the projects that we have. First, the projects in redevelopment. So Valentine Road, this is our acquisition of the La Quinta Inn, and we have acquired it now. We actually own it.
Yay!
Yes. And now
great
we're
news.
on to raising money to complete do the rehabilitation, et cetera. And we'll hear a little bit more about that later, but basically we had applied for 9% tax credits. We had some structural problems with our application. We basically needed some more resources to have a successful application, and we're getting ready to resubmit as a 4% tax rate application. You'll hear some of the pieces on that later today, later in the meeting. And so that's what's happening there. Westview Village 4 is a bit on hold. Santa Clara Apartments, so we have some public hearings coming up actually tonight at 6 o'clock. We have a hearing at the Design Review Committee, so hopefully we get out of this board meeting before 6 o'clock, although we are the third item on the agenda, so I think we're covered. West Side Improvements, we actually just signed a contract for doing these improvements. It'll take a little bit of time to get started. We have to get traffic control plans approved, et cetera, but we're moving ahead with that. So I guess that'll have to move into construction.
Yeah.
Also the Chapel Lane refinance and renovation, we're very close to signing a contract. We've gone over, very careful work with our contractor to, value engineer and reduce some of the costs, and just got our revised costs, which was a decrease from the original pricing. So we should be able to sign a contract shortly and keep with our current schedule, which is basically starting construction in the first part of June. There will be temporary relocation, so that will start towards the end of June. It'll be a major effort to work with temporarily relocating folks. Westview Village 2, very exciting. We should be getting our permit sign-offs tomorrow. Fingers crossed.
It's looking really good.
Yeah.
It looks great.
I've been through that way and, yeah, really looks
And
nice.
we've been.
Several of us had an opportunity to tour it today.
Okay.
So we saw the
So you
difference.
saw up close.
Oh, yeah, it was so wonderful.
So Barbara and Jim and who else went?
Kate.
Oh, okay. And
I like the garden. It was so nice up
Oh,
there
I
with a
did.
little space to barbecue.
Yeah.
And we kept trying to value engineer that out, but Denise said, no, we have to have the rooftop garden. So that's a credit to Denise that we have the rooftop garden.
Yeah.
And so we are scheduled to have the HQS inspections on Monday. That's the inspections we need to have before folks can move in with their Section 8 certificates, and have people move in maybe as early as the end of the month, but very soon. And I forget the exact numbers, but we have quite a few people. The property management and Section 8 folks have been doing a great job of getting folks approved. 35. So we've got 35 people
35,
approved.
yes.
So that's
Wow.
really great. Because,
It's really great.
yeah, yay. So that's kind of what's happening.
And we're pretty close to signing a lease with CBR.
Right, we are working with Child Development Resources to lease the child development space, and we're close with them, so that's gonna be great. And we've actually already got a couple of meetings scheduled for the community facilities. So it's pretty exciting.
That was one thing I think the three of us noticed. That the opportunity to get community to use those rooms.
Yeah.
And the other thing that to me struck. At my heartstrings was to see how much work is being done for kids.
Yeah.
And how much they're gonna be involved and how much we're gonna help them. And Dan, we better get it out in the community so that they know what we're doing.
We are today, we're having a meeting and CDR is coming.
Well, there you
They're
go.
pizza to the community, so I'm really hoping for a good turnout.
Yeah.
And we saw Salute Carbajal, our congressman, who toured it a few weeks ago, last week. He's still talking about the tiny toilets.
Yeah, I saw them today, they are tiny.
He loves them.
He really did not think that existed. I know what he thought kids did. Well, step ladders or something, but.
I don't know, it's so different. When I was a kid, they could kill you, those things that turned around that had, you fell on concrete.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
You're right. Yeah, no, he was really impressed with it. We talked about it, but he actually brought it up. That he's looking forward to the ribbon cut.
Yes.
Yes, and it's been a great opportunity to also take members of the city council through. Jeff's been great at organizing those tours, and everyone has been really impressed. So it's a great opportunity to highlight what's going on.
We're actually taking the rack on the tour on Tuesday. Yeah, they wanted a preview tour, so.
The community space is so great, especially with the window to the kitchen.
Yeah.
It reminds me of our old Westview community room. I have so many great ideas.
Yay! Okay, so just to follow up on the projects that are completed and in operation, Westview 3, we're working on, we've of course closed to permanent financing, and we're working on getting our tax forms, the 8609s. And your greening project is complete. El Portal is of course complete. We have the 8609s, and we're working on getting our final tax credit. So that's where we're at. Any
Thank you very much.
Thank
Karen,
you.
any questions? Yeah, very good report. I think we interjected as we went along.
Well, that's the way to go.
Good question.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion.
I motion to accept the development status report. Thank you.
I'll second it.
Okay,
Whatever.
Kate was the maker of the motion, and we'll give that to Diane.
We will.
Okay,
We will.
she's not frozen anymore.
We
Oh,
will.
thank you.
We have a second. We do have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, this is a roll call.
Commissioner Spragga? Commissioner Spragga?
Yes.
Commissioner Simonson?
Yes.
Commissioner Schulten?
Yes.
Commissioner Keller?
Yes.
Vice Chair White?
Yes.
Chair Florence?
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. We move on to 4.02. This is approval of resolution 24-04, RAD application for Valentine Road Apartments.
Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, we were quickly looking for some additional resources to add to Valentine Road in terms, it's really about having long-term affordability, long-term subsidy for the operations. The operations are pretty expensive. We won't have any permanent mortgage, but we do need to cover our operating expenses. So we've already had been able to commit 33 project-based vouchers. We're kind of tapped out, but we're looking for additional resources. And it turns out that we can apply, there's this thing called Fair Cloth to RAD. So it's all kind of magic, but Fair Cloth is this thing that was approved in like the late 1900s, 1990s. Yeah, the late 1900s. That you were established with a certain number of each housing authority with a certain number of public housing units, and you could never go over that. And as you took units out, you they gave you this fair cloth number. So right now, our housing authority's fair cloth number is 18. And we can apply for 18 fair cloth to RAD vouchers. So we've already done that as we just kind of figured this out within the last week or so. And as we were first looking into it, I thought we needed a board resolution, so that's why it's before you. We didn't need a resolution to apply for them. We have already applied for them. And it's really a small world story because it turns out that the expert in HUD on fair cloth is Nick Burke, who used to work here.
Yes.
Yes. So Nick has promised to, is working on expediting our request. And we've been in sort of constant communication with him over the last week. It's all very good, small world story. So anyway, what we're asking for is approval of this resolution, which is basically approving, applying for these 18 fair cloth vouchers.
So it's kind of a ratification. So
Yeah.
The application. Okay.
And we might need it at some point further on in the process, not totally clear.
Questions?
I actually have a question about the item before this. I forgot to ask about Santa Clara Apartments.
Uh-huh.
I was riding by it the other day and noticed that we're making a presentation to the city.
The design review committee tonight.
Is it tonight? Okay.
Yep. That's why I'm saying, let's, not take too long with the various board meetings.
It's not really up to me.
If it was, it'd be over already.
Well, I think third item, it's gonna be 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Think positively.
So, and I promised to do the special meeting presentation because Kyler is busy working on our tax credit application, so.
Any other questions on this resolution?
No.
I will entertain a motion then.
Motion to approve resolution 24-04, RAD application for Valentine Road Apartments.
Second.
Okay, Kate is the maker of the motion. Carol is the second. We do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Sparagna,
Yes.
Commissioner Simonson,
Yes.
Commissioner Schulman,
Yes.
Commissioner Keller,
Yes.
Vice Chair White,
Yes.
Chair Polanski.
Yes. Okay, and it is interesting, the fair cloth. I know Dick tried to talk to me about it once, a year ago or something like that. I said, I don't know who'll ever do that. So.
Well, I don't think you have any fair cloth authority, actually.
No, no, but he was talking about both.
Yeah.
Okay, 4.03. Approval of resolution 24-05, CEO's increase in salary. What?
I'm not gonna make a presentation. You have the material in front of you, it's a little hard.
We do have the material in front of us. Any questions from the commission? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll request that 4.03 approval of resolution 2405 CEO's increase in salary.
I second.
Okay, thank you. Diana is the maker of the motion. Barbara is the second. We do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call,
I'll
please.
do my own roll call.
You do your own roll call.
Commissioner Sparagna,
Yes.
Commissioner Simonson,
Yes.
Commissioner Schulman,
Yes.
Commissioner Keller,
Yes.
Vice Chair White.
Yes.
Chair Polanski.
Yes. 4.04, approval resolution 24-06, travel policy.
I'll turn it over to Ricardo.
Good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for giving me the time to talk to you today. I'll try to keep this very brief. We're a public housing authority, we're a public agency, we're stewards of public dollars. For a really long time, we have been managing our travel expenses and resources ethically and fiscally responsible.
Yeah.
So one of the good things that's best practice or the standard practice in many public agencies is for the agency to have itself a travel policy. And here before you today, we have a travel policy. This is a series of policies that, if I'm being completely transparent, that you're going to see throughout the series of this year. I know Jeff has identified a few areas of opportunity for us to kind of formalize things a little bit better. And this is one of them. So why are we bringing the travel policy to the board if most often travel within a agency is for employees. Well, our agency encourages commissioners to travel. That's one of the things our agency takes pride in, making sure that not only employees, but our commission also taking advantage of the opportunities to learn more about the work that we do. So this policy, by virtue of being a public agency, is applicable to staff and to the commissioners, and that's why it's here before you today. Some of the things that we address are things that Kristen already addresses when she manages many of our travel expenditures. This is just a way for us to formalize the way that we're gonna handle travel expenses. We address lodging, we address transportation, we address paying for conference, per diems, and all that good stuff. Again, this is not gonna change significantly. This is not gonna change how we do things significantly. We just put things in writing, and it creates a consistent process for all of us to see. And again, it's just the beginning. Any questions?
I don't have any questions. I think it's really good that we have this written down.
Yes.
Yeah.
We didn't know for sure.
Yeah.
I just came from Santa Barbara Airport and, I'm not sure it's $18 a day for overnight for long-term parking, but it got me thinking about how often are we going to be checking some of these figures?
So we can update as needed. And there's also flexibility within the policy for the CEO or a designee to make amendments to the policy. In addition, what we did with the airport travel long-term stay is we're saying the minimum that we found on the website or the lowest rate at that day, right? So in reality, if, for example, LAX, they charge based on kind of how busy they are.
Yeah.
Sometimes the rate's a little bit higher than the normal economy rate,
Yeah.
and that's gonna be fine. It's just really to set some figures, some common figures within the local airports.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? If not, I will entertain a motion.
I move that we approve resolution 24-06 travel policy.
Second.
Okay, Barbara is the maker of the motion. Carol is the second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Sparagna,
Yes.
Commissioner Simonson,
Yes.
Commissioner Shelton,
Yes.
Commissioner Fallon,
Yes.
Commissioner White, Vice Chair White, and Chair Plansky.
Yes. We move on to 4.05. I know something we look forward to on an annual basis. Always tell lady I get it from both Santa Barbara County and from Ventura. So I am blessed. We move on to Brown Act training.
Hello, it's that time of year, Brown Act trading. You know what they say about democracy? It's the worst form of government, the worst, except for all the others. One of the reasons, that's a joke. Thank you for your polite laugh. The thing about democracy is the power resides in the people. All governments prior to democracy, power resided solely in the government. And those governments, and governments that are anti-democratic, operate in secret. They do what they want to the people, not necessarily for the people. Democracy is different. It's for the people. All the power held by a democratic government is power delegated to it by the people. All of it. Nonetheless, politicians hate sunshine. They prefer secrecy. It's not new. It goes back to our own founding, our own founders. These letters from George Mason and James Madison kind of tell the tale. The Constitutional Convention was debated not in public, in private, in a hall to which the public was not granted entry. Because they didn't want the public to see the sausage being made. They wanted the sausage to be presented and to be either purchased or not by the people. I mean, James Madison even said there wouldn't be a constitution if this thing had been debated in public. There wouldn't be one. That desire for secrecy by government officials continued and continues. I would say until something dramatic happens. It's that way even now. But in California, the law requires sunshine, open meetings like we just had, like the one we just had. The reason is largely due to Michael Harris, an intrepid San Francisco Chronicle reporter, wrote a 10-part series titled Your Secret Government, where he went to meetings here and there and everywhere, and kind of ran across the same sort of attitude of government officials. the public's a pain, we don't want their input. We know what we're doing. They don't. Let us do our business. We know what's best. And they were willing to say that to a journalist. It's how they felt. It kind of created outrage. It created outrage in the legislature. There was one legislator, Ralph M. Brown, who actually got with Michael Harris, and wrote what's known now as the Brown Act. That's how it happened in 1953. It was 686 words. And Michael Harris, the reporter who got this thing rolling, wrote the preamble. That's the preamble right there. And it merits your attention. I'll note that from 686 words, statute now has over 19,000. So, and I read a lot of it just today to answer a question that Jeff posed to me. And it is amazing how many of those words are simply repeated. There are literally paragraphs that are duplicative of one another. Not a single word has changed. Not even the number changed. I can't explain it. It's a horrible statute. So that's why you need training. That's why you need understanding. If you have a doubt about meeting, just the answer is going to be, yeah, open it to the public. That's pretty much the default answer. Sunshine's best. Avoiding the public, bad idea. That's kind of the default. Why is that? It's because we're what's known as a legislative body. Or governing body. We are one. We're a housing authority. But that wasn't true until 1979, when a court case came around, Torres, where some folks who were running a farm worker housing got basically kicked out of their trailer by a housing authority that acted after a meeting, a post meeting. They said, yeah, let's get rid of those guys, and bounced them. And they sued, and basically housing authorities became recognized as governing bodies, subject to the Brown Act. Another thing to recognize is the second one. Basically, a board that receives funds from a local housing agency and has at least one member of that housing agency appointed to it is also subject to the Brown Act. That's Triad, that's homecomings. They're subject to the Brown Act. Cosina, same thing. That's why they're subject to it. In addition to those boards, subcommittees are also subject to the Brown Act. All subcommittees except ad hoc committees. If you have a question, don't be shy. Go ahead and ask.
What would be an example of our ad hoc committee?
We have one appointed just last month, as I recall.
Yeah,
Cosina.
you appointed the Cosina
Cosina
committee.
is ad hoc?
Yeah.
Right, ad hoc. It's called an ad hoc. That's how you know it's an ad hoc committee. It's got
Yeah, that's.
it's just dedicated to one subject, and it's got a finite lifespan. It's got as soon as you give us your solution, you're done.
So did you just say that Cosina is subject to the Brown Act, but ad hoc meetings aren't?
Ad hoc committees.
Committees are not.
The Cosina Board of Directors, when they meet, that meeting will be subject to the Brown Act. The ad hoc committee that's trying to come up with ideas about Cosina is not subject to the Brown Act.
Okay.
Yeah.
I understand.
Another example was the personnel ad hoc committee, when we were looking to hire a new CEO.
Oh, okay.
That was an ad hoc, that's why the discussions in the personnel committee were not open to the public. It was an ad hoc committee.
Yeah, I would only add to that ad hoc, I think if it's an ad hoc committee, but starts meeting regularly, then it's probably no longer an ad hoc. It was intended to be in the beginning, so it have to be a very short lifespan, very narrow focus, and it's like irregular meetings to accomplish that task.
Like a
Really good
bylaw
point.
committee, when you're gonna change the bylaws, like you would do a bylaw committee, would that be ad hoc? Cause it's short and it's.
The way you know it's ad hoc, it's called ad hoc, and Jeff's right. The meetings aren't gonna be the third Wednesday of every month. They're like, hey, you guys free X date, let's meet that date, and then you assign each other work and you meet some other time. And the sole goal is to come up with whatever the short-term subject is. And then then that little ad hoc committee dissolves. This is opposed to, for instance, the development committee. It's a standing committee, meets regularly, has not a singular focus, although it's development, but all the things that fall under development. It's got a bigger portfolio than a single subject, like hiring a CEO or coming up with ideas for casino.
Yeah, and ad hoc is just something particular that comes up for a very short period of time.
That's why I thought a bylaw committee would be an ad hoc, because it's a real short thing.
It could be.
Could be.
The way you're seeing it from the like resident council,
Yeah.
it would be, but because the resident council is not bound by the ground, then we don't use.
Oh,
ad hoc or
okay.
standing committee.
Okay.
I thought you were talking about housing code bylaws.
Sorry, no. I was-
Yeah, resident.
But the idea is the same, right? The bylaw committee is established to update the bylaws. That's
Real
their
quick.
task,
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, and clearly, resident, councils, citywide rep, not subject to the Brown Act.
Okay.
They may receive some funding from the housing authority, but its members are not appointed by the housing authority. And similarly, so while you're sitting on this board, you weren't appointed to the citywide rep, you were elected, right? Okay, that's why it's not something to the Brown Act. Now, what's a meeting? Well, it requires a couple of things. Quorum, 4 or more members. Meeting, come together at the same time or place in any manner and discuss housing authority business. Now, that it's that in any manner, in any fashion. That creates problems. Like, we meet here in this conference room, everybody knows. That's not terribly common. The complications, the problems occur. Well, the problems occur potentially remotely. We can meet remotely. We have a member with us remotely right now. Based due to just cause, we all saw in the beginning. But that couldn't happen if 4 weren't here physically to begin with. There is a way to conduct a meeting entirely remotely.
Right.
It is so onerous and burdensome, I'm not gonna get into it. It can be done. You don't want to learn how. It will become easy to do if the governor declares an emergency. When that happens, we'll know what to do. It doesn't, I don't think it merits your attention right now. What I'm getting at is, we can meet here, both virtually and in person, as so long as quorum is physically present in this jurisdiction. Unlawful meetings are like, this meeting's gonna adjourn. Now, 4 of you get together and go back and say, you know what? I don't think we gave Jeff enough money. It's only 5%, we should give him 10%. If y'all did that and came back and announced that, that would be illegal. That would be the same as being together and saying, you know, those troublemakers in that trailer out there, we should kick them out of that trailer. Like they did in Torres. Can't do it. So it's nice, y'all meet together afterwards, explain pleasantries and talk about this and that. You're not discussing housing authority business. That would be a meeting. That's gotta be open to the public. Serial meetings are also of concern. What's a serial meeting? They occur really naturally and simply. You send a text, you start adding folks to the text. Soon you've got 4 board members on a text chain talking about housing authority business. Guess what? That's a meeting. That text chain should be open to the public. Don't do that. You send an email and you discover you've got 4 board members on that email, you're wrong. Don't send that email unless it's an invitation to a party or something like that. If 4 board members are on an email discussing board business, that's not administrative in nature, like be here Wednesday for the meeting. But after discussing something, that's a meeting. It's got to be open to the public. That's how they happen. This thing is also called a hub and spoke thing. One staff member calls Jim, calls John, calls Carol, calls Kate, discusses the same subject, gets their input. That's a meeting. That shouldn't happen. That's how illegal meetings happen. Any questions about this? You know this. I'm not telling you anything you don't. But it's something you keep in mind, because sunshine, publicity, letting the public in on these things, that's the watchword. What isn't a meeting? We go to Naro. And 4 or more of you, board members, may be present there. That's not a meeting. Unless, of course, you're sitting at the same table, talking about Jeff's pay raise and how you wish there'd been more. that it should have been 10%.
We would never.
Of course you wouldn't, because you know it's a violation of the Brown Act. So you can attend these things, you can go to a local meeting like the city council, for instance, all of you show up to city council. That's not a meeting unless you find yourself coalescing together like a housing authority amoeba discussing housing authority business. It's bad.
So a good example, so if you, about a year ago, the city council got in trouble. The 4 city council members went to DC for the National League of Cities Conference, totally fine, they're all going to learn. But the 4 of them went and met with our congressman and talk about getting money from the federal government for the city. And then all talk publicly about what a great meeting they had with our congressman to do the city's business across the country without it being a public impact. They can all go to the conference, but if they then get together during the conference and have a discussion that's city related, that's when you invite.
Right.
And that widely publicized event did not go well for the city manager who facilitated it.
Yeah.
So you can go to ceremonial events, recreational events, we have lunches, we have like award ceremonies, that sort of thing. Free to attend. Just, the watchword is don't get together, a quorum, start discussing business.
Yeah.
Can I have a specific example?
Yeah.
Can I just kind of throw it out there? Let's say city council was gonna talk about housing. And we all went there and talked about it and did a 3-minute, talking about it on the public comment. Would that count? But we'd already be in a meeting, so would it?
You can absolutely, all of you get up in a row and give a 3-minute speech to the city council. And even identify yourself as a board member. You're not speaking as a board, you're speaking as a board member. That's not a meeting.
Individual.
Yeah, as an individual, yeah.
Right, you're speaking as individuals. You can do that. You can sit together in a row listening to this meeting at city council. It's okay to do. It's when you start discussing housing authority business amongst yourselves that a meeting is taking place.
Right.
And even it could be like the perception, say, 4 of us were at our conference and we decided to have dinner together.
That's right.
That's a perception issue, and so, typically, and notice I've sometimes made other arrangements, and backed out simply because, again, it's perception, even if we were good and above board and stayed away from housing authority business, the idea of if somebody, saw us and it got back, theory could be that, 4 of us got together as part of a public meeting to discuss housing authority business.
That's a really good point. You don't want to put yourself in the position of having to explain why what you did was okay. Because once you're being questioned about whether it was okay, you're in a bad spot. Okay.
Yeah, it's all about perception too. Even though what you did was completely innocent, like having dinner or something.
So when Jeff invites 5 of you over to his house for dinner, call me. That's not a trouble.
No. No, it was not.
We just had this happen.
Yeah.
Notice, regular meetings require 72 hours needed, 72 hours notice. Special meetings, 24. And we just did this yesterday. I think we sent out a special notice because the subject of that we're going to discuss shortly came up short term, did not have time. Put it on the regular agenda. They've got to describe whatever you're going to talk about. So y'all can understand it. The last one. Just stick to the subject matter jurisdiction of the housing authority. I don't know if you know this, recently, I live up there, recently passed a resolution condemning Israel's activities in Gaza and calling for a ceasefire. Okay, we shouldn't do that as a housing authority. Stick to our lane. And then everything's fine. Some things don't need to be on the agenda.
Right.
Like you can tell Jeff what a wonderful job he's doing. And how outstanding he is. What you can't do is give him a raise for that without agendizing the pay raise. Announcements, Jim does this routinely, like X Games coming up, Jim will make an announcement, doesn't need to be agendized. We keep talking about the pay raise for the CEO. I really should have put general counsel, but that's what, that is what I'm actually angry. for.
Don't worry, we'll never talk.
I know, I understand. You can request to put something else on, like, we just heard a lot about, the manager over in Palms. You could, at the end of this meeting, say, hey, I want to put this on the agenda for next month, I want to discuss this. I mean, you have that ability. What you shouldn't do, and John, you got this, you nailed it. You can't just start responding to the public comments, as much as you may want to. You can't respond to it, because it's not on the agenda. And I'll tell you something else. You may hear things you don't want to hear, that you don't like. You personally might be attacked for your behavior, for your activities on this board. That's bait, don't rise to it. You can't respond to this stuff in a public meeting.
It's been a long time, but it has happened in this board, years ago, yeah.
Yeah, you're in a public position. The travel policy tells you, you're stewards of the public trust.
Yeah.
You're
Act
doing the public's
accordingly.
business because the public has given you that responsibility.
Mhm.
So with that responsibility, sometimes comes some slings and arrows. So you can do limited general follow-up, and John did that. Thank you for so we hear you.
At all my time on the board, I have never heard any public comment that was derogatory to anyone. It was on whatever subject the person wanted to speak. I mean, in my time.
No, I've heard that there were some members who would come in and be derogatory about Denise. I've heard that. I don't know if it's true.
Well, all I'm saying in my time,
Sure.
that's all I'm saying.
It's,
Okay, I mean, maybe before that, I've been to other places in my careers and, you know, that started in the late sixties, so I've been around a while. You know, where yes, I've seen certain things, but I'm saying in my time here, I have not heard public comments be derogatory to someone. They were on topic of whatever the person had wanted to speak about, and they were respectful comments
that's
on
right. Yeah.
on topic. That's all I'm saying, okay?
Okay.
For me.
These are the public's rights. One of them is the ability, and it's actually, we've got to provide the public the ability to, one, to speak, two, speak remotely if necessary. We've actually got to respond to any request for reasonable accommodations as well.
Right.
Folks aren't necessarily ambulatory, they may have hearing issues, could be any number of things that require an accommodation. We're required to listen to and provide those accommodations if they're reasonable. That's part of the public's right. You can't say, we'll let you talk if, no, don't do that. If someone's off point, we can handle it, but we can't condition their right to speak on something we find acceptable. We may find the speech unacceptable, and if it's because it's obnoxious, obscene, or off topic and the like, we can interrupt, but just because the subject that they're talking about is unpleasant does not make it off limits. Something to think about. And it's to think about. It's pretty hard, pretty hypothetical. I mean, we just heard a lot of people have pretty strong opinions. None of them were unpleasant to listen to, I think. I'm thankful for that. That's when people get to speak. There's two kinds, specific, general. The folks we heard from today were very specific about what they wanted. Someone could come in and just discuss, I don't know, we had a guy last month talk about the wonders of the house we provide. And he was a housing provider, had some pretty general comments to make about our operations. Those are examples of the two kinds of public comment. It can occur at any time. We agendize it, we provide it at a particular time. We can limit the speech, the time of the speech, and do. There's also a requirement to provide public comment on closed session items. We do that separately when there's a closed session. So there's 2 points at which they can speak publicly. Again, when it says here not required at special meetings, what's not required is to allow the public to speak on a general topic. Public can speak on the specific topic that comes up in a special meeting. But if you have a special meeting about a bond issue, and you're talking about a bond issue, that what it is, bond issue?
Yep.
Bond issue, and somebody wants to talk about Grace Navarro, no,
Mhm,
Time to talk about raises today
mhm.
at the general meeting, not at the special meeting. That's the difference. These are some additional rules. This is kind of in the weeds. Just look at me. I'm not gonna go into these. Believe me, I know what they are. I enforce them, I provide guidance on these. We have a policy about unruly speakers. In short, someone would say, you're being unruly, stop it. Or, for example, if you got a cell phone, turn it off, mute it. I'm tired of hearing your text message beeping. And then if the person who is being unruly is unruly again, the chair removes that person. John will get up and physically remove it. It's an awesome sight to behold.
I have a little prod, you know. I can see a nameplate or, you know, anything that's handy. So
That's what our policy has, the chair removing that person. And I'm sure.
and we get it on camera, which, you know, adds to the benefit because then it appears on TV. At some point.
And if we need to, we do have a heavyweight wrestler in our midst, so if we need it, we've got it.
Aha.
Okay, closed sessions, we're gonna wrap this up with closed sessions. This is the exception to the sunlight rule of the Brown Act. These are the exceptions, and the exceptions are very specific. You may not know this, but when we agendize a closed session meeting, the language on the subject line is verbatim from the statute. It's like there's no points for creativity in this subject. It comes straight from the statute. These are the ones that we have used, personnel matters, litigation, and real estate negotiations. We could have other reasons to do closed sessions, but those are the ones that typically we use. Got to be agendized, got to follow the same notice requirements, general meetings. So you could have a special closed session. In fact, I think the Ventura City Council had one on Saturday.
They did.
Which Ricardo alerted me to, thank you. You don't have a closed session because you don't want the public to know what you're talking about, because it would be unpleasant to publicize what you have to talk about. Like the reason you didn't give the CEO raise.
That action's already taken.
I'm past that. Just because you don't want to give me a raise is no reason to have a closed session.
Right.
Just do it in public, I can take it. All right, in the closed session, you only have the board members and whomever is necessary from staff. That's it. You report out an open session if a board is report necessary. That's how closed sessions operate. That's it. Any questions?
Any questions? Diana, any questions? Oh, I'm sorry, Ricardo, I saw your hand.
I just have a question, a quick question for you, and I apologize to break you, Commissioner. How does social media play into this, social media?
Well, I can think of the spoken hub description I gave you. If, I don't know, John posted something on Instagram about the wonders of the housing authority, and 3 commissioners then started saying, yeah, but, you got 4 commissioners on social media talking about the same thing. Not a good look. Is that fair?
Okay. Sandra, did you have any questions on the Brown Act?
No, I've heard this a couple times before. And it's always comprehensive. It's always comprehensive. It's always good to go over it because it's, what we get to know each other, we're friends, and sometimes we forget that we have to adhere to the Brown Act, and it's important. So I appreciate being reminded over and over again by Tiernan. I think that's the 3rd or 4th time I've heard I think it's the closed session's important. He reminds us there's new members, and I just think that it's I'm happy he does it, and I think it was excellent presentation. It tells you exactly what you can and cannot do, and if you think it's not right, then you should just not do it. And even if you think that it is right, but you're not sure, you still should not do it until you get a legal opinion or you ask, which is always the best way to do it. So I think it's an excellent presentation and it really, I like the part where you really said it's okay, go to the city council meeting and say what you have to say as yourself. Don't feel that you're a commissioner. I felt that way one time. I went with Denise and we were speaking on behalf of the veterans, trying to get the contract, which still bugs me to this day, but I remember, I mean, every time I get on a C word and I get on my car there, I still remember that city council meeting. But yeah, every time, it's just, it just eats at me because I know we would have done a tremendous job and here I go talking about it. But anyway, I remember Denise telling me, you have to talk about it in a board meeting, at an agendized board meeting, unless it's brought up, or it's been pre-approved to discuss it. And I never forgot that. And we've been getting good advice from our legal counsel now for, God, I don't know how long you've been here, but you always sit there and you give us a brief overview every year, and it's always excellent. And it reminds us that even though we're friends and we go places, we have to watch what we say and do.
Yeah. Thank you.
So thank you. That was a positive comment on the Brown Act, right?
Thank you, Diana. I appreciate that. It only feels like a long time.
No, but yeah, you do, but it's been 3 or 4 times that you've put us in a room and you've explained the Brown Act, and it's helpful.
Thank you.
It's been thousands.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it feels that way.
Thank you very much, Diana.
Yeah.
Anything else before we let Terry move off the Brown Act training? Okay, there's no action taken except our appreciation for, yes, as Diana said, keeping us on track. And even the perception, is that is as important as reality sometimes, even keeping that perception. Yep. We move on to number 5, information items. Anything to share that's coming up before we adjourn?
Well, there may be a transportation situation come up here, the 28th. We're doing the ocean, it's a marathon. It starts in Ojai and comes down to Ventura. So there'll be a lot of traffic going, not only in town, but also coming down the road here. Talked to a gentleman yesterday who just finished a cross-country ride on his bike. It took him 109 days, 4,200 miles. And he said, the last thing he told me, he says, don't put off your dreams. So with that, I'll be on the road starting tomorrow for 4 days up in up in Sullivan.
Oh, wow.
Nice. Great. Looking forward to that.
Don't count on split pea soup.
And now that is done. Yeah.
I know that. I have another place to eat.
Okay, good.
Anything else before we adjourn this meeting?
I actually forgot one thing. I know it was a long CEO presentation, but last week or this week signed the MOU with Calvans.
Oh, okay.
So we're actually moving forward with the 8 Calvans, 2 or 3 of which will be ADA. I think 2 are ADA accessible, but it was a long road to get there, but we have it. And we actually have a signed agreement with Calvans for those vehicles. And so
Great.
probably rolling out in June. And we're working on the logistics, but that's exciting. It's gonna come in a couple of months.
I was in Sacramento last week and we talked at a Calvin's meeting. And was told about that, but I thought I'd wait. He said something.
It's done for now. We got work to do, but. Good idea.
Okay, our future meeting date, recall, is again in May, the 3rd Wednesday, instead of the 2nd Wednesday that was approved at last month's meeting. So it is Wednesday, May 15th at 1 p.m. And everybody stay safe.
Meeting with homecomings next, and then after that.
So we are adjourning for what, take 5?
5.
Yeah, 5 would be great.
Yep.
Yeah.